Hey guys, so today I just wanted to briefly go over this very simple layout for a dashboard. Uh, Basically, how to build like a web app, basically a full screen single page application. Um, and the main features of this layout are it has this toolbar on top, and then a main content section and two sidebars on either side. And so I'll just briefly go over how I achieved this layout. It's very simple, and this is a very flexible and versatile layout that I use in a lot of my apps. Um, yeah, so let's get right into it. I'll show you how I've done this. Um, I've just highlighted I've given each of the elements an outline so you can see them better. So these block elements are outlined in green. So yeah, let's get right into it. Uh, so here's the HTML file, and there's not a lot of content in it. It's just the skeleton for the application. But basically what I've done here is I'm going to split it and get the CSS in another window. Yeah, so what I like to do whenever I'm making a single page application, first of all, is I select both the HTML and body elements in one selector. I give both of these a width of 100 of the viewport width and a height of 100% of the viewport height, and then set the margin and padding to 0. So basically what this does is it ensures that at the top level of our document, this is filling the entire page. And this is important. If you're making a single page application, you're probably going to implement like things like scrolling content a little differently. You're not going to want the browser to be, you're just going to want the entire like browser real estate to work with. So it's important that we set that up at the top level. Then another thing I've done is I've used the asterisk selector, which will basically select every element. And it's not a super good idea to get too crazy with this. But one thing I usually do is for every element, I'll set box sizing to border box. This is just something that if you don't set this, it can make when you adjust the padding on an element, it can make computing the width kind of strange. And this having it set to this I believe it keeps the width the same, and even if there is padding, it won't adjust the width of the element. So yeah, and then I just gave everything an outline of green so you can see it. So yeah, another thing I did, so the first top level element in the body is this wrapper div, and this is simply just to provide like one extra layer of like just one extra wrapper element, so everything's not just like floating around in the body. We just provide this very simple div, just to tie everything together. So usually something I found that works really well when designing like single page layouts is what I'll do is most of the time I use Flexbox to design these layouts. And what I found works the best is if you can think of it like, let me just get this markup here. Oh, never mind. I was trying to draw on the screen, but yeah. So basically, you can think of it like, so we have this top toolbar we want, right? We want this to remain a fixed height, and then we want the rest of the content to scale depending on the browser height. So if we open up our responsive viewport editor here, see, we can adjust the height of the viewport. We want the toolbar at the top to remain the same height. So, and then we also want this similar thing to happen in the center. We want these sidebars on either side to remain the same width, and the section in the middle will adjust. So the way I do that is, so I have this outer element, which is a wrapper, and I've set this to display flex and flex direction column. And then within that, there's the container, which is this this like lower half of the app, which is like everything but the app bar. And this is also flex, but this has flex direction row. So we have, at the very high level, we have this nested layout of a flex direction column, which includes our toolbar and everything else, and then flex direction row, which includes our sidebars and our main content. And this, this is a very versatile way of breaking down complex layouts, because now, as you'll see, so I've set two variables here. One is the sidebar width, and one is the app bar height. So as you can imagine, app bar height is the height in pixels of this toolbar. And the sidebar width is simply the width of each of these sidebars. So flex direction column on the wrapper. Oh yeah, and the wrapper also has width 100% and height 100% to to fully scale out to its parent element, which is body. So if we didn't set these, it wouldn't make full use of the body has 100% viewport height, but we also need to set 100% on the wrapper, just so it expands to its full extent. So basically, the wrapper is flex direction column, and it has two immediate child elements, which are the app bar and the container. And so all we need to do here is we want the app bar to have a fixed height, and we want the container to have a fluid height. So what we're going to do is app bar gets its flex basis set to the app bar height. And what that will do is the app bar will remain at this fixed height. And then the container, on the container, we've set flex grow to 1. So that means the container will then fill the remaining height. So that takes care of our vertical layout. We have the toolbar and everything else. And if we adjust the height of the container scales, but the toolbar will remain the same height. Unless, of course, the viewport is smaller than the app bar height, which it'll really never be on any like realistic device. So that takes care of the vertical layout. So now let's look at what we're doing with the container. So the container is also a flex element, except this one has flex direction row. So because we want to consider the arrangement of the elements in the container from left to right. So in the container, you see in the DOM structure, we have one sidebar left, then our main content, then another sidebar right. And this is very simple. All we need to do is set the container to display flex direction row, and then on our sidebars, we do a similar thing to what we did with the app bar. We say flex basis, sidebar width. So now the sidebars have a fixed width, and the main, which we have given a flex grow 1, this will grow to fill the remaining space. So now we can adjust the viewport. The app bar remains the same height, the sidebars remain the same width. The main content will resize, which is exactly what we want. And another thing I've done is simply include these empty divs in the app bar. We've also given the app bar a display flex with flex direction row. And this, we just included these blank divs to let us get this border, sort of align the toolbar content to the main content. Yeah, so that takes care of that. And then one more thing I did was I included a media query. So if this is, let's just comment this out to see what it looks like without it. If we didn't have this, if the screen gets, reasonably small, especially on like a mobile device, you can see our main content is like really small, because on this device, the sidebar width takes up the majority of the screen space. And what we'd probably want to do is just get rid of the sidebars altogether and have a different layout for a mobile device. So that's exactly what we do with a media query. So here, if the max width, or if the width is under 1200 pixels, we simply get rid of the sidebars, apply the property display none, and as you can see, the sidebars are gone. We resize up, and now we have sidebars again. And if we were going to design this as a more complex layout, we'd simply put a bunch of other media queries to adjust the layout. So this would become a mobile layout once we go past that breakpoint. And yeah, so here we have a very basic layout for a single page application, which gives us two sidebars at a fixed width and a main content section of variable width and height. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you for watching.